Hey everyone, welcome to WaltInPA, my brand new YouTube channel, which is going to focus on motorcycle content. And you're probably thinking, like, why are you doing a talking head video with no motorcycle? The simple answer is I'm not even close to being ready to get this thing up and rolling yet. So, a little bit of backstory on me. So this video will be pretty much a little bit of an introduction. I don't know, some background on me. So, as I said, my name's Walt. I live in the state of Pennsylvania, and I ride motorcycles. I just recently started riding motorcycles again after a very long time off. So, I want to say it was back 10, 12 years ago, probably closer to 12, maybe 13 years ago. I got into riding motorcycles. I took the Pennsylvania State Motorcycle Safety course through the MSF at the time. I wanted to ride. My brother was riding dirt bikes. He started fixing up my father's 1970-something Honda CB350, and it just seemed like a fun thing to do. So while he was kind of toying around getting on the road for the first time, I decided to go take my rider's education course and get all set up to learn to ride. I went to Blackman Cycle in Emmaus, Pennsylvania. Wound up having a really good time, passed the course. I actually took the course with my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law and father-in-law are avid riders, and my mother-in-law wanted to be able to ride, or wanted to have a motorcycle license in the event of an emergency, because she'd always been a passenger up until that point. So she wanted to take the course with me. We both enjoyed it. We both passed the course. And then I went out and I bought an old beater Suzuki GS 450. It was actually an L model that the previous owner had made some adjustments to. Now, the L was the cruiser style, and I think what he wanted was an E, so he must have bought an L and started tinkering and converting parts and trying to make it an E. So it was this weird amalgamation of a mix between a standard and a cruiser. It wasn't entirely comfortable. Some of the ergonomics are a bit weird, but I really enjoyed that bike, and the whole reason I bought it was just so that if I ever dropped it while I was learning, I wouldn't be too upset. I think I spent less than $700 for that bike, and I wound up selling it several years later for, I think, close to $5,000, and it hadn't run for a number of years when that happened. So, anyway, I get my motorcycle license, I start riding, I really enjoy it. The 450, it feels underpowered, and it's starting to become problematic. Constantly pulling the carburetors apart, cleaning them, or fixing this thing that's going wrong with it, or fixing that. And then my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, we decided to move in together. We bought a house that only had off-street parking. At any rate, we didn't have a garage. I didn't have a place to put the motorcycle, and our house was on top of this really big hill. So there was a lot of space between the house and the street. It's one thing parking a locked car at the sidewalk and having the house a couple hundred feet away, but it's something else entirely to leave a motorcycle out like that. So I wasn't really comfortable keeping it there. I wound up keeping it at my parents' place, and the issue I ran into is I would hop in the car, I'd spend half an hour getting down to the bike, get out of the car, get all geared up, go to start the bike, and it wouldn't start. Maybe the battery was dead, or the carburetors needed to be cleaned. There was always something. And that always something led to half hour, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour, getting the bike running again so that I could go for a quick 1 hour ride and then ride a half an hour back home again. So it became more trouble than it was worth, and I was getting kind of annoyed. And shortly before then, my brother went out and bought Yamaha R6, and he was encouraging me to ride that instead of my old beater. And that bike was a ton of fun. They say it's more fun to ride a slow bike fast than a fast bike slow. But I rode that fast bike pretty slow, and I had a lot of fun on it. And I kind of look back on that bike fondly. My brother's since gotten rid of it, and he's gotten a cruiser. And that was kind of I don't want to say that it was kind of the breaking point, but I started enjoying the R6 a lot more than I was enjoying the Suzuki, and I was just too far away. It was always broken down. It was not reliable. So what wound up happening was I just got sick of it. And then when I found out that my my wife, we were expecting, it kind of changed my perspective on motorcycles a bit, and I saw them as a much bigger risk than they were. I mean, I had always saw them as a liability. There's always they're inherently dangerous, and you have to respect them for that. But, you know, with my first child on the way, I was overcautious and decided to kind of ease my way out of motorcycles. So while I wasn't riding, the bike just sat, and it kind of got worse and worse. And eventually someone came across it, offered to buy it, and I was happy to sell it to them just to get rid of it. And I want to say 10 years has gone by since I've ridden a bike, since I've ridden a motorcycle. And I decided I wanted to get into it again. So the reason I wanted to get back into motorcycles is because I need something to do that allows me to kind of take myself out of the moment, just kind of focus on something other than work, because I work a lot. I work a full-time job for someone else, and I also have a business that demands 30 to 40 hours a week. So I feel like I spend an abundance of time working and very little time playing. I mean, the free time that I get, I like to spend time with my kids. We run around the yard and stuff, and go places and, you know, have fun. But it's been quite a while since I've had anything of my own. I mean, I have hobbies, but this just felt different. It felt like something I needed to do once again. So I went out and I started researching motorcycles and how to get back into them. My plan was to take the Pennsylvania motorcycle safety course again all these years later as a refresher. Unfortunately, the COVID crisis has canceled all statewide activity, so PennDOT shut down the program until further notice, and it wasn't looking too good. But I started reading books, reaching out to different people. I made arrangements for some private training, and then I just bit the bullet. I went out and I bought a 2018 Honda CB650F that I'm very, very happy with, and that I actually hoped to do a little moto vlog with today. And it didn't quite work out the way I had hoped. So years ago, I used to do competitive shooting, pistol sports. And one of the things that I used to enjoy doing with that was putting together match video. And I would use 2 to 3 cameras normally, and I'd have 2 cameras set up on the ground in various positions or on props. And then I'd have a camera on me. At the time, it was a contour camera that mounted on a GoPro strap that it was on the side of my head. So when the gun came up, you wouldn't see down the sights, unfortunately. But you could see what I was shooting at. You could see poppers fall, activators moving, and things like that. But a friend of mine came to the match one day, and he was doing the same thing with the match video. So at any rate, I went out and I bought these pivot head glasses, same ones that the friend of mine had. And basically, they are safety glasses. They're, you know, rated for shooting sports and various things, and they have a camera between the eyes, which is pretty cool. So I stuffed these things on underneath my my motorcycle helmet, and I had hoped to capture some video to see just how useful these things might be. Now, I knew they weren't going to be perfect for a couple of different things. For one, these haven't been used since like 2016. I think it was right around the time when I stopped shooting was around 2016. So it's dated technology, but I don't have a GoPro yet. I don't have I shouldn't even say I don't have a GoPro yet. I haven't made a decision on what sort of video setup I want to start using yet. And GoPro is one of the options. I'm also looking at an Osmo action camera that I'm not quite sure about. I'm also looking at the Sena 10C Evo. There's also the new Smart HJC 10A, I think, which I'm not even sure if it's out yet, but it's they're hyping it up. It's on their website, and the idea of having an all-in-one unit, a Bluetooth communication device, and a video recorder sounds kind of cool, but I don't know that that's really the direction I want to go yet. But at any rate, I decided to stuff these things in my helmet. Now you have to realize that the unlike a traditional motovlog where the camera is mounted outside of the helmet, these are encapsulated in a full-face helmet. So they're behind my visor, they're stuffed between the pads because they're much thicker than a traditional pair of glasses. And it was just, I was kind of curious. I wanted to see if they would work at all. And the end result was not awful. These are 1080, 30 frames per second, I think. I don't know if it's just perception or what, but I feel like I'm moving at a decent pace on my bike. I'm a new rider, so I'm kind of cautious on how fast I go through corners and things like that. And it feels like I'm doing fairly well when I'm, on the bike cruising around. But the playback on these makes it look like I need training wheels on my motorcycle. It just feels so horribly slow. It looks so slow. And I'm doing the speed limit pretty much everywhere. So a lot of the roads I was on were about 35 miles an hour. Because these are stuffed inside the helmet, the sound is kind of muffled. I did record a motovlog. It's probably not worth going through and editing all the footage. I will probably show you some of the highlights. Again, my apologies for the muffled sound. But that should give you a pretty good idea of, I don't know, who I am, a little bit of my background, and the start of what will be the WaltInPA motorcycle channel on YouTube. So thank you for checking out my very first video. I'd appreciate any sort of recognition or feedback of any kind. Just let me know that someone's out there. That would be a wonderful thing. I'm also on Instagram as WaltInPA. And again, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. So that's where WaltInPA.com was born, and through the years it's been a variety of different things. As I've changed hobbies over the years, the blog has sort of changed hobbies with me. So at one point in time it was just random stuff, and then a couple weeks later I might be talking about a beer that I drank or something and found interesting, and then became a parent or a father, and that was sort of the topic for a while. Then I got really involved into competitive shooting. That's kind of what the blog was for the longest period of time. And then it switched over to archery when I got more involved in that. And now that I'm back on a motorcycle again, the blog is doing another transition, and I hope that I can stick with the motorcycle topic longer than all of the others. And I did competitive shooting for a number of years, so it's a tall order to keep motorcycles active. And I say that because, or I say that I want to keep it active because it's fresh in my mind. It's something that I want to do, something I've wanted to do for a little while now. And it's hands down the most expensive thing that I've done for myself in quite a while. I mean, shooting production division USPSA, I mean, you buy a Glock 19 or Glock 17 for $500-600, and you're pretty much set. I mean, you need extra magazines and ammunition and registration fees and all that stuff, but you're looking at, you can pretty easily shoot your first year for $1,000 if you're shooting local. If you want to travel and go to sectionals or majors, it's going to cost you significantly more. But I always stayed local, and I liked production division because it was inexpensive. That was kind of the fun behind it. So one thing you'll learn about me, if you stick with these videos, is I have a tendency to ramble a lot. And I also talk to myself. You'll probably catch me on more than one occasion as a new rider coaching myself through a turn or something. And so I'm going to apologize now for that, because I'm sure you're going to get a lot of it. That's the first time I've been back here in a while. My daughter used to play soccer, intramural soccer, not terribly far from here, and we used to take this road out to the soccer field. It's that's a back road. There's a lot of farms and stuff around here, and I'm not a highway person. Ooh, I just got a thumbs up from a kid that looked like he couldn't have been more than 9 or 10. pretty cool.